Florida's governor sent around 50 illegal immigrants to a political resort. Politicians have been taking their stances on it, including California's governor. Governor Gavin Newsom responded to illegal immigrants being sent to Martha's Vineyard by requesting the Department of Justice investigate Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Newsom wrote, "I strongly urge the U.S. Department of Justice to open an investigation into the possible criminal or civil violation of federal law based on this alleged fraudulent scheme." He listed kidnapping and organized crime as possible offenses. DeSantis responded to a reporter's question about the two planes of approximately 50 Venezuelan illegal immigrants he directed to land at Martha's Vineyard, described as a hideaway for the rich and famous, on September 14th. He criticized the response from people championing sanctuary cities, saying, quote, "Their virtual signaling is a fraud." California is suing Amazon, accusing the company of violating the state's antitrust and unfair competition laws. The state claims this stifles competition and pushes sellers to maintain higher prices on products on other sites.
In this economic
On
climate,
Wednesday, California Attorney General Rob Bonta filed an 84-page antitrust lawsuit against online retail giant Amazon. Bonta's office said Amazon used contract provisions to prevent third-party sellers and wholesale suppliers from offering lower prices for products on non-Amazon sites, including their own websites. That, in turn, harms the ability of other retailers to compete. The suit comes after a 2-year investigation that involved subpoenas and interviews with sellers.
In today's lawsuit, we allege Amazon's practices violate California unfair competition law and the Cartwright Act by thwarting the ability of other online retailers to compete, contributing to Amazon's dominance, and harming merchants and consumers through inflated fees and higher prices.
The suit claims that merchants who do not comply with Amazon's policy could have their products removed from prominent listings and face suspensions or account terminations. Bonta's office argues that, ultimately, the retail giant is helping itself maintain e-commerce dominance.
In this economic climate, we need to do all we can to ensure the market is fair, that it is competitive, so consumers are not forced to pay artificially inflated prices. And our businesses that play by the rules can succeed.
The lawsuit aims to stop Amazon from entering into contracts with sellers that harm price competition. It is also seeking a court order to have Amazon pay damages to the state for increased prices. State officials did not say how much money they are seeking. Amazon controls roughly 38% of online sales in the U.S. NTD reached out to Amazon for a comment.
Will House Speaker Nancy Pelosi try to keep her seat if Democrats hold on to the House majority this fall? She won't say, no matter how much reporters pushed her on the matter Wednesday. Take a listen.
Did you not? Are we speaking a different language? First we win, then we decide.
Pelosi talked about the Democrats' success heading into the midterm elections November 8th, pointing to 2 surprise victories in Alaska and New York, saying she and her colleagues, quote, fully intend to hold the House. Abortion is a big issue for both sides, and Pelosi believes there is conflict among Republicans on the matter, but she says Democrats are united. After a unanimous bipartisan vote by the California Assembly and Senate, California Governor Gavin Newsom has signed a human trafficking bill into law. The bill would require EMTs and paramedics to undergo training to identify potential victims.
Last week, Assembly Bill 2130, authored by Republican Assemblyman Jordan Cunningham, was signed into law by Governor Gavin Newsom. The law will require licensed EMTs and paramedics to undergo human trafficking awareness training that would help identify, interact with, and assist victims. According to Cunningham, the bill is intended to help reduce human trafficking and ultimately save lives. He told the California Globe, human trafficking victims are rescued by ordinary people who recognize the signs of trafficking and are brave enough to act. Cunningham has been a strong advocate for anti-human trafficking laws. He has successfully passed 4 major bills that include training to hospitality employees and adding civil penalties to hotel owners that don't report suspected human trafficking. Manuela Garcia, a victim of human trafficking, told the California Globe that these laws will help save lives and rescue victims. She said, quote, "A paramedic coming to us in an accident and knowing what to look for would really help future victims not be hurt or sold or worse."
San Francisco police are the latest target for catalytic converter theft. 4 police vehicles had the catalytic converters stolen from them. 2 trucks and 2 vans, all unmarked SFPD. It happened on Monday afternoon just outside of their offices in Potrero Hill neighborhood. No arrests have been made. A California appeals court has decided to allow non-U.S. citizens to vote in San Francisco school board elections. That comes as the court delayed a previous ruling against the city ordinance.
As a result of an appeals court decision, non-citizens will be allowed to vote in the San Francisco school board elections come November. Earlier this year, San Francisco passed an ordinance allowing non-citizens to vote in school board elections. But California Superior Court Judge Richard Ulmer struck down the city's new law on July 29th. Then, an appeals court denied a request to expedite Ulmer's ruling in time for the general election in November. The appeals court decision wrote that, quote, "The constitutional challenges are significant ones that are entitled to deliberate consideration. This means non-citizens can cast ballots in the November 8th election since Ulmer's ruling would not be in effect." James V. Lacey, an attorney who filed the lawsuit against the city ordinance, told the Epoch Times that the procedural delay will harm election integrity and allow the counting of votes that a judge has already ruled are illegal. Bill Thomas, NTD News, California.
Mudslides hit parts of Southern California after a tropical storm blew through the area. Footage shows an officer rescuing a family during a storm over the weekend.
Body-worn camera footage shows officers from the San Bernardino Police Department rescuing a mother and her 2 children from a flash flood on Sunday. The rains were the remnants of a tropical storm that brought high winds and some badly needed rainfall to drought-stricken Southern California last week. The flash flooding occurred in parts of the San Bernardino Mountains where there are burn scars, areas where there's little vegetation to hold the soil from wildfires that hit the area in 2020.
NASA provided highlights from a Mars exploration. One of its rovers collected the rock samples from a popular crater to learn more about the red planet's life forms.
NASA's Perseverance rover is well into its second science campaign. It collected rock core samples from features within an area that scientists consider to be a top prospect for finding signs of ancient microbial life on Mars. The rover has collected 4 samples from an ancient river delta in the red planet's Jezero crater since July 7th. Bringing the total count of scientifically compelling rock samples to 12. Ken Farley, a professor at Caltech, led the science team to design and build the Perseverance rover.
Jezero was selected for this mission because it meets several key mission goals. It allows us to explore an ancient habitable environment. It allows us to seek evidence of possible Martian life in rocks deposited at that time, about 3.5 billion years ago. And I want to emphasize, this mission is not looking for extant life, things that are alive today. Instead, we're looking into the very distant past when Mars's climate was very different than it is today.
Perseverance is currently investigating the delta sedimentary rocks formed when particles of varying sizes settled in the once watery environment. During its first science campaign, the rover found igneous rock, which forms deep underground from magma or during volcanic activity at the surface.
The mission is proceeding extremely well. We are making very good progress at understanding the geologic history, finding some surprises in the history of the crater, and we are also making good progress in collecting this suite of samples for the Mars sample return effort. And what you're going to hear is that the suite of samples that we have collected so far is sufficiently good that we are now considering them putting down a subset of them on the surface of Mars as a target for the future missions to pick up and bring back
On July 20th, the rover abraded some of the surface of Wildcat Ridge, a rock about 3 feet wide that likely formed billions of years ago as mud and fine sand settled in an evaporating saltwater lake. The rover would analyze the area with the instrument called Scanning Habitable Environments with Raman and Luminescence for Organics and Chemicals, or SHERLOC.
So we found signals that we think are possibly from organic matter on every target that we've observed with SHERLOC to date. And this isn't really unexpected. It aligns with what we've learned from studies on Earth and Martian meteorites and from Mars research from our sibling rover Curiosity. However, it does say that organics seem to persist in the very harsh Martian surface environment, which is very exciting for us.
SHERLOC's analysis indicates the samples feature a class of organic molecules that are spatially correlated with those of sulfite minerals. Sulfite minerals found in layers of sedimentary rock can provide significant information about the aqueous environments where they formed.
There's another kind of term that we would use.